There's a man in your area, dog. Check the shit out. What time is it? Black guy. So this YouTube video finna be brief. There's been a lot of occurrences in the music industry recently that I attribute to the overall order of the United States of America, and it's bullshit. I've been a musician for 16 or 17 years, and you know, they had the microscope on me for quite some time. I demanded that these crabs pay me for not only for invasion of privacy, but theft of intellectual property and so on and so forth. And that's one thing. Because of course I would demand that these motherfuckers pay me for stealing shit from me or for invading my privacy for over a decade. Obviously, I would be like, pay me. But today, I'm finna describe some shit that occurs, which is beyond that failure to compensate one who has been crimed against so heavily. Because, you know, obviously, when, you know, us black fellas, when we be professional, when we be, you know, there's a short list of things, 4 or 5 things, called requirements for us to just basically be hated on heavily all the goddamn time. Yeah, I demand that these people pay me, but I'm not a slouch. I'm actually a fucking hustler for real, and I do that shit consistently. I've been hustling consistently in a very legit way, might I add, for quite some time, for many, many years. And I noticed a pattern with it. You know, every time I start stacking up a budget to start distributing these very authentic works of art, or these very, very authentic works of definitive blackness and so on and so forth, every time I start stacking up a budget, some dramatic shit occurs to kind of knock me off my path. I'm not a lazy motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll go out and I'll hustle up my own money, and I be dedicated to the shit, and I do it B.I.G. like that every time. I'm forced to believe that a lot of these dramatic occurrences are paid commands that come down from not only the music industry, but any of the people that are most interested in the effects of its content and the cultural control that it you know, that it fucking has every day, every fucking single day, and how what my content is so far opposite of that I would say multiple times, 3, 4, 5 times in a row, every time I start hustling up a budget for this shit. Even though these people owe me grand amounts of money, but I'm not going to sit here and just be like, well, somebody better pay me. I go out and get my own money all the goddamn time. But I noticed that whenever I get to a certain point, meaning whenever I get to a point where I can fund some things, where I can actually distribute some sort of message across a broad, you know, across a whole lot of people. Once I start to get to that point in my pockets, then that's when some dramatic shit will occur. Specifically speaking, say earlier this year, one of the dramatic occurrences would be some weirdo running his vehicle into me, boom, and totaling my fucking car. That was earlier this year's bullshit, but it's occurred in multiple ways, you know. And so, like, I'm mentioning this because, like I said, there's been a lot of occurrences in the music industry recently that's causing people to, you know, kind of look at this shit like, what the fuck is this? And if I don't all the way bite my tongue. I heard it bite it a little bit. I still be able to mention a few major names in this entire goddamn thing, where some pretty big stars and some people who are most definitely the beneficiaries of such hating ass bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that I'm finna oust every goddamn standing member of the music industry machine. More specifically, some individuals who are, like I said, most certainly the beneficiaries of such hating ass bullshit over the course of a long time. If a person is standing on their own feet, doing their own shit, getting their own money, and some weirdos that owe that person can't even let that person do that, then I'm gonna say we got a fucking problem, yeah? Like there's some strange ass problem with that. That's a real life problem right there. And I would attribute that to the type of content that I produce, the type of content that I'm responsible for. I've been frauded off of by multiple people in the goddamn music industry. I mean, and very much so, especially over the past 10 years, I've been frauded off by quite a few acts in the music industry. There is not a very high level of authenticity across the board in the music industry. There's some who I will give all the proper goddamn props to, you know what I'm saying? But there's also a massive amount of fraudulence, which is important for reasons that people seem not to factor in all the time. Why is that important? Because of the control over our culture that this shit has. Where if you don't have authenticity as the majority of what's going on, then you're going to have a fucked up effect. You're going to have a very, very bad effect within your culture, your people, and so on and so forth. Especially for people that look towards the future, they group of people, as opposed to today and yesterday or the present moment. All of this stuff that comes out is very much controlling our culture and our behaviors and so on and so forth. And just like one Nipsey Hussle decided that he wanted to get killed. You have to look at that particular man's actions and say, what was that fella doing to attract that type of murderous attention? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, Playboy. This is going to be part 1, and I'm going to round it out in a part 2 video, but it's going to be back to back. This video is going to roll right into another one. I'll have one full video. Look at my hands. You can tell I've been working. You know what I'm saying? You can tell I've been hustling. The motherfuckers be hating up a stizzle, stazzle, storm. What? Alright. What I'm telling you? That the music industry and that the United States itself cannot afford a fellow like me. Cannot afford a fellow like me, cannot afford for a fellow like me to get a certain level of exposure. I've been under a certain suppression for quite some time. And suppression is not always what it sounds like. The purest form of suppression is to take the works of a person, steal them shits, rearrange them shits, and forward them to a person who's not in any way, shape, or form like that goddamn person. Originality and authenticity must come from the source, the original source. So when 8 whiteys sit in the studio and wait for their feed from Microsoft or whatever corporation is responsible for the monitoring and theft of people's digital productivity, when 8 crackers sit in their studio and steal my shit and forward it to a Disney puppet, we're looking at the misrepresentation of the black race in every way. We're looking at the misrepresentation of the professional, heterosexual, intelligent, talented black man. That's what this country is always up to. is the complete and total misrepresentation of the black race. Once misrepresentation goes on for so long, then it becomes reality, as we have seen occur here. That the black race has been misrepresented so harshly by so many different black sellouts and by so many thieving ass whiteys that it has become the reality of our existence. That our behaviors and our culture and our habits and so on and so forth has actually been crafted out of genocidal fraudulence. Okay, I could probably talk about this for the next hour or two on this video, but I'm trying to keep it brief because I'm not just telling you, I'm not just sitting here complaining to you or whining to you about being hated on and about being attacked multiple times or no shit like that. I'm telling you what's occurring in relation to this fella. You know, what is the extremely immature, extremely obsessive, extremely negative reaction to the existence of this fellow right here, and why the reaction is that way, why these people's actions towards me are what they are. Okay, this plan for massive misrepresentation of Negroes is something that has been in place since way before I was born. It's something that got a big, huge head of steam and a big, serious start a long goddamn time ago. It don't got shit to do with me. So basically, in a goddamn nutshell, the existence of one yzaa man is something that these extremely genocidal, extremely hateful, fucking retarded ass, crazy ass people did not bargain for. I am not in any way, shape, or form related to this country's guilty ass bullshit. Not at all. Okay, and that's why I get hated on so severely. The release or the distribution of the content that I create from the home mind, and I sit down in front of my equipment and I create music and I create other types of content that all come from right here and right here. Straight raw talent is something that these people cannot afford, nor can they afford to have any sort of kind of good exposure. Okay, this is some gangster shit that I think a lot of people have failed to stick to, and I'm not here to put myself on a pedestal. I'm not here to pedestalize myself, but you do recognize that crab ass weirdos do not hate on losers. Okay, you don't put in that much effort in altering one person's life or thwarting one person's success who's just a random ass bum on the side of the street. Okay, so when I tell you that it's been 10 to 15 years of radical nonsense against me, I'm telling you that for a reason. That's why I use the term genocidal fraudulence so often, because it's precisely what the music industry is about at this point in time. It's genocidal fraudulence. Okay? Facts. Point blank. Fucking facts. There's no arguing about this shit. Okay? So over the past 10 to 15 years, and especially in the past 7 years, I have it seems that it doesn't matter what I am doing outside of the music and the other content that I create. Whatever I'm doing, the people's reaction to me is always the goddamn same, and that is to try to trivialize me, try to downplay me, try to degrade me or demoralize me, or try to play some sort of disrespectful ass game with me. Okay? Now you recognize the fact that many blacks have become numb to this shit, and that's why it's been so much of probably an effortless action or effortless effort for these people to do this shit to me, because most people are not prepared to deal with that shit as it is. Many people are prepared to make a goddamn excuse for it, or ignore the fact that it's occurring, or you know, halfway go along with it in one way or another. I'm not, because obviously the entire history of this country is basically just the same as what I'm describing here. What I'm describing here, my experiences in this country over the past 10 to 15 years, and like I said, especially in the past 7, 6, 7, 8 years, is something that is not that, it's not an isolated event, not based on this one individual. The severity of the reaction is based on this one individual, or my level of excellence, or my level of expertise, or how goddamn masterful I am at putting this shit together. But it is not an isolated event. It is just the order of America amplified. For me, it is just the black experience amplified, to be hated on and trivialized and downplayed and mocked and suppressed in a multitude of ways. Okay, and that's most important. Like I said, when I tell people what's going on with me, it's never for a selfish reason. I am trying very much to describe to you these occurrences so that you understand what is up against, not me personally, but what is up against all of us Negroes, regardless, and how there is a huge population of not black identity extremists, but black identity underachievers, people that accommodate these whiteys bullshit and sympathize with these whiteys bullshit to the point of bending over and spreading their cheeks for these motherfuckers. When you identify these people, or when you address these people based on their actions, they always have a fucking excuse. They always get highly offended. And it's weird because they are the ones who are sitting there doing all of these foul, disturbed ass things, all of these very negative, very horrible things to people such as myself unprovoked. Like I said, people such as myself, because I'm up here unprovoked. But this is an attack on the race itself, on our group of people itself. If you go back to the 90s or the 80s, you recognize that the blacks behaved nothing like they behave today. And that our culture has been so severely attacked and broken down that it's very difficult for people to be, opposite numbed up to this shit. Apparently, I'm going to have to do a part 3 because that was a lot of words right there and I'm not done yet. These attacks that I have suffered or endured or experienced, obviously to me, it's just some bullshit that I laugh at. Up to a point. Now, after it happened a few times now, of course I'm very, very fed up, very, very frustrated, about ready to pistol whip on these motherfuckers. And that's going to lead me to the part 3 when it comes to the coward behavior behind this shit. I do not recall at any time in my life anyone speaking directly to me about anything. All I can recall is a bunch of coward-ass, subliminal, indirect speaky. And that is a very, very major tactic that, that is used by guilty-ass people. If you speak indirectly or you speak in a sublime way, it makes it very, very, very blurry and very difficult for the one that's being dispatched that way to do a lot of things, do a lot of different things. But hey, that's for part 3. I'll get back to the show. So once a fellow reaches a certain level, once it becomes so masterful, or once it reaches a certain level of excellence, then that's when this culture, this society begins to apply baseless criticisms. May try to involve you in some shit that would be a good how do I say that? Something negative that can be referenced as a goddamn, excuse as to why this fella should be, he should certainly be hated on. You know what I'm saying? This culture is just black as fuck like that. And I've known that for a long time. As I said, I've been fronted off by quite a few acts over the past 10 years. I actually have been fronted off for more people than I can count. When something is a recurring occurrence or something that's happening, many times over, and with a person like myself that does not pay attention to the content that is constantly being, coming off the conveyor belt, it's happened more times than I've actually counted. I only seem to notice the more major events, names, a Drake, which that should come as no surprise to anyone, because Drake is one of those guys that deals in the theft of a lot of people's content, or at the very least, he kind of sets people up to kind of donate their content to him, while he gives them some very substandard compensation. Bruno Mars, one of the most major ones would be Bruno Mars, Plies, going back many years, Kanye West, Nipsey Hussle. There's quite a few. When you kind of, I'm not sure if any of you have ever seen, certain interviews with people that have been, in the music industry. They will certainly, a few of them have rather certainly mentioned how there's been a lot of, quote unquote ghostwriting, or a lot of artists have stolen one or two songs, whether it be to have a huge hit, or whether it be to fill up a goddamn album. It's something that occurs. These people do practice the theft of other people's creative works. Me personally, the way that I sit down and create music and other content is just all from myself. I do not reference other people's work in order to create my work at all. When I'm producing music, obviously, as a hip-hop producer, you might want to chop up some songs every now and again. I've chopped up a few songs, but obviously there's an art to sampling. I'm talking about straight out theft of people's creative works, people's intellectual property. Usually, when I produce music, and if I'm not sampling, then I'm not sampling. Meaning I'm creating entire arrangements from scratch. I like to create my music in that way just as much as I like to sample. Sampling meaning chopping up songs. Chopping up songs like a DJ Premier or a Ninth Wonder. I can produce a very wide range of hip hop style music, whether it be, like I said, creating arrangements completely from scratch, or chopping up songs. This is something that I do at the highest level, something that I take very seriously. When I do chop up songs, I mean I chop up songs. Like I said, like a Ninth Wonder or a goddamn DJ Premier or someone like that. I produce hip hop music at the highest level. Okay. Not only that, but I write lyrics at the highest level. So if at any given time I wanted to, I could just say, well, fuck my beats. I'll just go get some beats from 4 or 5 different producers, and I can just put my lyrics over those beats. So essentially what I'm saying is, once a black man becomes, once they recognize that one of us is at that level of talent, and then at the very same time is not affiliated with the industry, and it's not about the concepts and so on that the industry wishes to place down upon our group of people, then hey, season was in, that's just what it is. Once they recognize that you are at that level of talent, and you at the same time are not affiliated with the industry, meaning that you are not going to produce any content that is most negative, most self-disrespectful, most self-genocidal, as so many of these Negroes' content truly is, then hating season was in it. Like I said, it is something that really is best described as baseless criticism, the alteration of certain circumstances so that a certain negativity can be applied to that individual. if you were to change some circumstances to negative ones, and then a person has a very, very goddamn negative reaction to that, you see where that would be a perfect opportunity for some hate-ass murders to then apply negativity to that person. I've always been very aware of that, which I guess would lead some people to say, then why would you react like that? Man, it's mostly just because when you have some people that get that far out of pocket with another group, then someone has to stand up and check it. It's not a function of one's ego to check this shit. And I think a lot of times people's egos, if not just the idea of or just the fact that they may be extreme cowards, if it's not that, then a lot of times people get it, that people's ego gets in the way of them actually checking this shit. Or that shit, you know what I'm saying? The things that these people are doing should have been goddamn checked a long time ago. The extremely racist practices, the extremely genocidal practices should have been checked a long time ago. Just like so many of the things in this goddamn country should have been checked a long time ago. That's why we're dealing with a situation where shit is so far out of hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems to me that there's been a widespread overall collective failure to check this shit as it occurs. Okay, these people have been directing the most of criminality at our group of people. Obviously, we know that because that is simply American history. But if I want to speak about the past 10 to 20 years, it is never ended since those years of slavery. It is just continuously taking new form, and this latest form of criminality that has been directed at us, or should I say, this latest wave or round of crimes that has been committed against this group of people has been most intricate, and it's been most fucking filthy and disgusting. So when an adult man such as myself checks that shit, whether it be just right here or living against it, or when I go and I put a lot of goddamn effort and thought and time into it, and I decide that I want to make some musical content that is all about checking that shit, that is all about basically dismantling that shit, then that's when the baseless negativity and the baseless criticism and all of the trivialization or the demoralization attempts and so on and so forth begins. As I said, I'm not complaining about this shit. I am simply stating facts about these occurrences. What many Negroes, especially recently, have failed to do. As I said, you go back to the goddamn 90s and to the 80s and so on and so forth, you had many Negroes who had no goddamn problem checking this shit, who are against the United States and its filth, and it's just disgusting treatment of Negroes in every goddamn way. Our culture has been severely altered through the creation of an overall cowardice in our people. So it's ungoddamn acceptable. Now, I feel like I done rambled too much, so I'm gonna have to make it part 4. Nonetheless, this video is going up on YouTube. Folks, easy, this rap shit easy, nigga. So moving right along. Myself, as a black man who is about the future of black people, knowing the history of this country and its constant exploitation and marginalization and just overall giving the shitty end of the stickeration to black people, right? There's no way that the genocidal fraudulence that's been directed at me or my content, the theft of my content, the theft of my privacy, is any sort of invitation for me to be affiliated with the music industry, because obviously a person such as myself is not interested in the music industry. The music industry does not serve the black race. I would be most interested in destroying the goddamn music industry, or at least making something alternate. You see, so when I mentioned that these basic criticisms or basically these lies come about once a man reaches such excellence or such a level of masterful gangsterism or whatever, um, that's what I'm talking about. You will hear somebody make some type of strange excuse like that. Like I was supposed to have some sort of all reaction to frauds attaching themselves to my shit. And it's just like, why would I have any reaction for a fraud attaching themselves to my shit when it's not something that I'm trying to be affiliated with in the first place? It's simply a group of people who is hot ass guilty, who decided they wanted to put their hands on some shit of mine that now owe me massive amounts of money. There's no potential affiliation between me and this industry. And I purposely kept myself away from the industry, its practices, and the entire shit of it, purposely, from the day that I started producing music. When I started producing music, I believe it was 2002, 2003, and there was a popular website out at the time by the name of soundclick.com. On that website, in the section that the statement was for, in the section where they ask the artists there who upload their content there a certain set of questions, I stated specifically that I wish not to be affiliated with the music industry. It was around that time, around those years of the early 2000s, that the content that was going up on the television screen, especially on the reality TV side, the content was so foolish and so silly that I could see this bullshit as it has unfolded to the current day coming from out. So at that point, at the age of 15, 16, 17, I wish not to be affiliated with these people's industry. In fact, when I was in 8th or 9th grade, I told myself not to be affiliated with the industries and institutions of the Caucasians in the first place, because it is always something that is massive exploitative, if that's the correct word, where the blacks are involved. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the corporation or the university or the military or the government, is always exploiting the blacks. So my experience of being exploited in this country is not an outlandish or far-fetched type of experience. It is precisely the black experience amplified because of one's excellence. Okay? And that's what I'm describing to you here today. I'm not pedestalizing myself. I'm not filing any fucking complaints. I'm stating facts about certain occurrences. And that's that. Wrong. That's not the way that I made around that video out there. More importantly than what I mentioned just now is all of my content, and not only my content, but the way that I live my life and shit like that is all anti-genocidal shit. And it's increasingly tough for me to illustrate, what that truly means when we have so many Negroes that are on so much bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, many of our people have been mentally altered or have suffered mental attacks at the hands of this country's bullshit, and their reactions to a fellow such as myself may not be as harsh or as negative as whiteys, but the reactions to me will certainly be influenced by these fucking factors. You know what I'm saying? So it's really difficult for me to illustrate what that very, very, very extremely anti-genocidal thing is truly all about. You know what I'm saying? And then me as a person engaging with people, I'm really, really not the most tolerant person like I used to be. Like, I'm really a fucking asshole, and I will let somebody have it real fast. So that kind of makes it a little, kind of tough on me as well. But that's more or less how I meant to round this video out. Speak, to give you the most clear idea as to why these things occur with me that I mentioned at the beginning of the video and throughout, but mostly at the beginning of the video. That's because I'm certainly responsible for a huge wave of anti-genocidal things. And those are the type of things that the power structure and the crabs here want to have any one person or any group of people take responsibility for, because obviously they rule over this place by shit. So when one such as myself starts at a very young age with these concepts or with these actual structural whatever the fuck you're supposed to call it, I believe that it not only upsets some of these crabs, but it causes them to actually act out against those individuals, such as myself, where if you didn't have so many goddamn people, kind of going for these people's nonsense, then they wouldn't really be able to go off like that. But like I said, I know this ain't goddamn pattern one way or fucking another, which is extremely important. Like, obviously, like I said, when you have some crabs over here that owe this person right here a ton of money, and they're so goddamn obsessed that they can't even let me step out and make my own money, then that means there's a fucking problem. And that also means that they know that if I do get around to doing what I'm finna do, then it will have the most excellent, most natural effect. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really get into arguing with people about a bunch of shit, because the things that I've experienced are most definitive to me. And I just looking at this shit like you can't be goddamn serious. Like, do you know the type of shit that these crabs do? And like I said, for many Negroes, you may think to yourself that you haven't experienced the shit. Many of you may not have, but I would say just as many of you certainly have. You just kind of maybe didn't goddamn think of it that way as you experienced it. You know what I'm saying? Many of us, most of us, are experiencing have experienced some sort of this type of shit in our lifetime. Individual like myself is just gonna experience it over and over again, very, very much, a lot more than this person or those people over there. It's based on productivity, it's based on expertise, it's based on capability, experience, and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? It's also based on goddamn what dedication of yours you may make obvious to these fucking crabs. Ultimately, people are extremely goddamn good to you, and I don't really give a damn about none of the bullshit that they kick, because we know definitively that they're guilty as shit. So, basically, kind of a intro opener for the content that I'm finna release. And if you find it to be most profound as it should be, and if you happen to really like the musical content that I release, which I will be, sitting down to refine and then release shortly, then this video will make extra perfect sense to you. Some of you will probably listen to this video and it will make extra perfect sense to you, whether or not you listen to my music in the future or not. I think other people probably will have to get some of that goddamn content up in their bones in order for them to really comprende what I'm saying right here. I don't know really, I'm just saying. Some silly ass shit. I can go on and on and on about this. I really could go on and on and on about this. I'm going to choose not to go on and on and on about this right now. But if I were to go on and on and on about this, trust that everything that I would say would make the most goddamn sense of all goddamn time. And I expect not very much out of people, but I do expect for those of you who have been on this goddamn internet anywhere in the past 10 to 15 years, that claim to be against all of these people's bullshit, those of you that run those Instagram pages with 100,000 followers, and those YouTube pages and so on and so forth, to act like you some goddamn sense and promote my shit. You know what I'm saying? Don't act like a fucking coward. If you act like a bust your ass motherfucker and you don't promote my shit, I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna call you a fucking goddamn hypocrite. because there's certainly hypocrisy that information rests on anyway, so I don't really got no problem calling you motherfucking hypocrites out. Basically, you happen to be one of those people. I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna call you a big, fat, stinking hypocrite. Because that's precisely what your ass would be if you said decide to hang on me any goddamn hurt. You know what I'm saying? Period.